there, Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving a spoiler-free review on the latest book that I have read. So in my spoiler-free reviews, I go over certain things such as what the book is about, if I've read from this author before or not, my thoughts on the book, my star rating, and if this is a book I would recommend reading. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's spoiler-free book review, and that would be for the book The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. So The Boyfriend is about Sydney, who lives alone in New York City, but the last thing Sydney wants is to be alone. Sydney has been searching high and low to find the love of her life, and she is determined to find her person. Sydney has been on the dating app Cinch for quite some time now and was hopeful at first that she would meet someone from it. But unfortunately for Sydney, all she comes away with time and time again is bad date after bad date after bad date. Just when Sydney finds herself wanting to give up on love, she meets Tom, an extremely gorgeous and kind doctor. The two start to date and eventually become exclusive. Sydney can't believe her luck that she met this absolutely perfect and amazing guy. But the more time that Sydney spends around Tom, she can't help but pick up on a few red flags. Although anytime Sydney brings up any of these red flags to Tom, he always has a very reasonable and logical explanation for any of Sydney's concerns. Sydney tells herself that she's overthinking things and tries to move past her concerns about Tom. But she just can't help but wonder, in the back of her mind, if Tom really is the man of her dreams, or does she just want him so badly to be? So this is the second book by Freida McFadden that I've read. The first book that I read by this author was The Housemaid, which is probably this author's most popular book to date, and it's a book that I just absolutely loved. As far as the next book by this author that I would want to read, it would either be The Housemaid's Secret, which is a sequel to The Housemaid, or The Crash. More than likely though, I'll probably end up reading The Crash first. So now for my thoughts on the book. While I overall really did like this book a lot, there was one thing about the book that I was a bit underwhelmed by. So first I'll get to what I liked about the book and then what I was underwhelmed by. So one of the things that I really liked was that this book was such a page turner. This book was such an easy book to get into and read, and once you started reading the book, you just couldn't help but become invested in the story, which in turn had you turning page after page, wanting to see what was going to happen next. Another thing that I liked were the characters. I thought all the characters were very well written and had a lot of depth to them. The characters had personality and are definitely characters that I won't forget about anytime soon. The last thing that I liked was I thought the author did a really great job of distracting you and throwing you off guard when it came to the twists and turns in the book. That being said, there was a pretty big twist towards the end of the book that I was able to pick up on after reading a good portion of the story, but besides that twist, I wasn't able to predict any of the other twists or turns in the book. Overall, the twists and turns were really well done, and were definitely ones that caught you by surprise. So those are my thoughts on the book as far as what I liked. Now for what I was underwhelmed by, which was the ending. I won't say what happens, as this is a spoiler-free review. What I will say is that when you're reading the book, it felt like you were on a roller coaster ride. And then when you got to the ending, it felt as though that roller coaster ride came to an abrupt stop. It wasn't a horrible or a bad ending. It was just an interesting way to end the book. It was an ending that I found to be, like I said, underwhelming. Even though I found the ending to be underwhelming, I will say it's an ending to a book that I don't think I'll ever forget because of that. Although the book may not have had the best ending, it at the very least had a memorable one. So at least there's that. So those are my thoughts on the book. Now for my star rating. So I had such a fun time reading this book. This was a great mystery thriller that kept you entertained and kept you guessing until the very end. With all that being said, my star rating for The Boyfriend was 5 stars. So now for is this a book I would recommend reading? Before I get to my recommendation, I just want to point something out about this book, specifically if you have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. There's a text message exchange between Sydney and a friend of hers in the book before the story starts. There's a bit of an Easter egg on this page, a little clue to that major twist towards the end of the book that I mentioned earlier in my review. This text message exchange between Sydney and a friend of hers is kind of what confirmed that major twist for me before that twist was ultimately revealed at the end of the book. So I would just say to try and avoid that text message exchange before the story starts in the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition if you want to avoid that Easter egg to that major twist that I mentioned about. So now for my recommendation, which is that I would say if you're looking for a fun, fast-paced mystery thriller to read with shocking twists and turns, I would highly recommend The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope I help you discover a new book today along the way as well. And until next time, bye.